Welcome to West Michigan's Morning News. Steve Kelly, Brett Bakita, and Rick Albin, all model employees, easy to work with. We would never talk about another employee behind their back. A new study is out about that toxic employee. Who is it? How to identify them? What to do? Outside of that, workplace culture expert Shontaye Hawkins back with us with Fox News Radio. Shontaye, thank you for joining us on the program today. So who is this?
You're welcome.
Who is this person, and how do we identify them according to the very latest?
Well, so this study basically presented a personality profile, which was really surprising, and it's fascinating even, because what they say about a toxic employee is that they excel at their job. They're hard workers, but they're corrupt. So they're not lazy. They actually work really, really hard. They're probably a star performer, but everyone else avoids them in the organization because of their bad behavior, their negativity. And they have a high self-regard. So in other words, they're a little bit selfish. And they're also considered overconfident, which leads to unreasonable risk-taking.
So when you say corrupt, you don't mean corrupt like the guy that's stealing from the till. You mean corrupt, socially corrupt.
Yes, socially corrupt. So they really don't consider how their behavior, or they may not even know that their behavior is even impacting anyone else around them.
Well, or not care.
Right.
They may not care.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well,
right.
so is that part of the problem? Because technically then they get stuff done, so a boss might not have them on the radar if they don't get involved in the minutia, you know what I mean? If they don't come down to your floor.
Right. If they're actually getting their job done, they're working really hard, and there's another trait or characteristic as well. These generally are employees that stay with organizations much longer than others. And it makes sense, right? If everyone else just, you know what, I don't want to deal with him, it's better if I leave. And if those employees that are leaving believe that the boss is actually condoning behavior, that's going to impact their leadership.
I'm curious to find out. I don't know if it's on this study. But
Tell them. Go ahead.
When I think of toxic employees, I'm just wondering.
Go ahead. Name names.
Yeah, is the entitled veteran more difficult to work with in this study, or the young go-getter that then thinks they've arrived after a year?
Oh, wow, that's an interesting question. I would really like to see. I would think that it probably doesn't matter if it's a newbie on the job or if it's someone that's seasoned, because they both probably have this high self-regard, as this study points out.
Yeah.
But they have a high self-regard, and so whether they've been there, 2 weeks and they know everything because they came in the door knowing everything.
Right.
The deal is that they're going to put forth the work, time, energy, and effort to be amazing, or at least present themselves that way so that the company thinks that they're amazing. And it also shows up because they're high performers. They're getting their jobs done. They're just making everyone else around them uncomfortable.
So, Shontaye, knowing this information, moving forward, because we want to be part of the solution. Our glass is half full.
Yeah.
When is it time to say something about this person if we think the boss isn't getting it done? Well, that's probably not even the way. How do you put it as well?
Yeah, I mean, if the boss isn't, if you've had the conversation and you communicated your concerns with your boss and they're just turning a blind eye to it, you want to make sure you have a conversation with HR. It's always, a sticky same conversation, because you're like, okay, am I going behind my boss's back? But you have to make sure that the organization knows, because if the boss isn't doing anything about it, and this is a behavior that is not tolerated in the organization, although the boss isn't doing anything about it, you need to let someone else know who knows that, we don't tolerate that type of behavior, so we do need to deal with it.
Yeah, but you nailed this. You nailed this earlier, though. You said just this. These people tend to stick around because other people leave, right?
Yeah, because what happens if I have this conversation with HR, and you always know that if I'm having this conversation with HR and I'm considered complaining about someone else in the organization or a team member, they may just say that I'm sensitive or,
Right.
I need to just suck it up kind of thing. You're not a team player. If you believe that that's going to be the response, then you would, most of the time those employees do end up leaving, and so the toxic worker stays, and everyone else appears to be too sensitive, not a team player, and even lazy.
So the best bet
then want to work that hard.
is to send out resumes on behalf of this person and get them out of it, or get Brett to go talk to management.
Yeah, you're right.
We set up a dummy profile for them on LinkedIn too.
That's a good point. It's 2016.
Yeah, right.
9:07 meeting coming up.
Yeah.
Workplace culture expert Shontaye Hawkins with Fox News Radio is always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wood Radio News Time is 8:11 every 10 minutes.